Hi guys, welcome to Westmonster Uncensored. I'm Michael Heaver.
I'm Patrick Christie.
And so much to talk about on today's show. We've got everything from Trump to the House of Lords, but we start, Patrick, and we've been asking you guys all day, immigration. Do you think the current levels are too high? What do you want to see them brought down to, or do you want to see them go up?
Absolutely.
We've had some research from YouGov.
Yeah, well, YouGov, who's usually the authority on all things fact and figure related, have basically received data to say that 63% of Brits think the current level of migration is too high, and 22% support the levels that we've got at the moment. As you can imagine, pretty much nobody would like to see more immigration into the country. So this just obviously lends support for people who are pushing for a stronger immigration stance. Does seem like the wider public opinion is in their favour. Support for slashing levels of migration includes 84% of Conservative voters and 49% of Labour voters. Now bear in mind that doesn't mean that 51% of Labour voters would like to see more migration. In fact, some of them will like it the same, some of them won't know. So you do end up really there with a policy, a Labour policy seemingly that doesn't have one on mass migration, that seems to be out of touch with their own voters perhaps.
Now guys, we want to know what you think about this, because as far as I can see, like I keep saying it, I keep banging on about it, the regular viewers here at Uncensored, that, immigration was a central plank of that Leave campaign. In fact, it was the number one issue for millions and millions of people. Even people that went and voted Remain still wanted to see action on immigration, see numbers brought down to the tens of thousands as the Conservatives promised. And it's very interesting now. It seems to have gone completely off the boil. We've been hearing rumours about a potential sellout. But why we're highlighting this is because we refuse to go quiet on this. We refuse to accept that it's going to be brushed under the carpet. I think this is the number one issue that needs dealing with, and all we want is the Conservatives to bring down net migration down to those sustainable tens of thousands net migration. Oh, little double hit there. Tens of thousands net migration per year as they promised. So tell us what you think. But as I say, this YouGov polling, this research, very conclusive, very clear. About 2/3 of people think levels of migration to Britain have been too high. We're going to go through some comments.
So Salil has been in touch to say immigration is very high and for EU citizens the door is open, which is unacceptable. Paul Richards accused MPs of being out of touch on this. And Hazel Trainer has said, as he said, it's about facts and figures and sustainability. So there's a lot of your impressions there on it. I think that one of the big arguments that's being made, certainly in this research that's done by YouGov, showed that people weren't against skilled or targeted migration. They were against, it would seem, vast swathes of unskilled migrants coming into the country for the obvious reasons you would imagine. The biggest fear that YouGov poll showed that people had would be with unskilled migrants coming into the country and then ending up, say, on benefits or at the expense of the taxpayer. That clearly is a fear, according to the YouGov statistics, from a lot of people in the United Kingdom. It also presumably would mean that they would come in and fill up a lot of the jobs at the lower end of the work spectrum, which could take jobs potentially away from the more unskilled members of British society that are currently here. So that's where the concerns are. But interestingly, people weren't against migration as a thing. It was more the unskilled element of it. But let us know what you think.
Another interesting finding in this piece of research as well, guys, was you will have heard about this so-called hostile environment policy. And YouGov actually asked people what they thought about the policy of basically requiring people to show ID, show documents for things like opening bank accounts, accepting jobs, or renting. And it showed, and of course, recently in Westminster among politicians and MPs, we've seen, people basically going very, very weak on illegal immigration because we saw the Windrush scandal. And obviously that was an absolute scandal. But then people have conflated it with illegal migration and said, well, the government had been too hard on illegal migration. The fact is, in terms of illegal migration, the whistleblower estimated that used to work in the Home Office that illegal immigration to Britain is running about 150,000 plus per year. I mean, this is an absolutely outrageous level of illegal migration. And as I said, when YouGov asked people whether they support a so-called hostile environment policy requiring people to show ID to do things like open bank accounts, it actually found that 71% were in favour. So there you go. Yet again, when you've got politicians now pushing for a softening of approach in terms of dealing with illegal migrants and kicking them out of the country, mass public support for crashing down on this. And I think it shows you again, and I think Nigel Farage actually tweeted out our article yesterday, and it shows you that sort of disconnect on an issue like illegal immigration from MPs to the public. As I say, 71% in favour of a so-called hostile environment policy requiring people to show ID. I mean, my God, some people are even kicking off about the suggestion that you should have to show ID when you go and vote.
I think that's
how is that even controversial? It's an absolute joke.
I think if I have to show ID to get into a Wetherspoons, I should probably show ID to have to go to the polling booth.
I was having to show ID when I was 18 years old, going and heading out the bars and making a tit of myself. You know, you shouldn't have to. You know, the fact that you can go and vote at the minute, you don't have to show any ID or anything. Surely that's wrong.
That personally to me screams the fact, because it is Labour that are blocking this notion that we should have ID at the polling booth. Really, why are they doing it? Well, because where are they getting a lot of their votes from? It would seem that people that maybe aren't registered. But anyway, that's a different point. But one thing that Michael touched on there was the Windrush scandal being linked to the illegal immigration thing, and I'm personally very annoyed at this because these are two completely distinct issues. These are two completely separate issues. On the one hand, you've had a massive cock-up by the government that's basically deported British citizens, which is as bad as it gets. On the other hand, you just have illegal immigration. They are two completely separate topics. They should be dealt with completely separately. And just because we've made a cock-up of the Windrush scandal does not mean we should start taking a much softer approach on actual illegal immigration. I think those two issues are completely separate.
Here. Right, let us know what you think about that. Just moving on now, we did another story today, and there's other guys, go and have a look at this on westmonster.com on more polling, which basically, again, people were basically asked about the Conservative Party stance. No, it's not that one, we get the other one up. It starts, large numbers of Brits want stricter migration policy from Conservatives and Labour. There we are. And basically, it showed that 44% of Brits say the Tory stance isn't strict enough. And that includes a majority, 51% of working class voters and 70% of Leave voters don't think that the Tories are sort of strict enough, hard enough when it comes to migration border policy. Very interestingly, we hear, in terms of the Conservative policy, we hear a lot, don't we? Oh, young people all want to throw open the doors and the rest of it. It showed you in the breakdown from YouGov that among young voters aged 18 to 24, around the same amount of youngsters said they wanted a stricter Tory policy, as said they thought the Tory policy was too strict. So that shows you actually that there is support across all age ranges for crackdown on this. And just to go to Labour, when the people asked about a potential Labour government, 48% of Brits said they don't think the Labour Party would be strict enough on migration. Only 3% thought the Labour Party would be too harsh. I mean, I don't know what they're smoking. And another only about 24% thought that the Labour Party would get it right on migration. So again, it just backs up the point. Politicians can try and ignore this issue, but it isn't going away. It's of huge concern. And the general consensus is, from the British public, they want levels of migration brought down, and they don't think the Labour or Conservative policies, as they stand, are strict enough.
Well, Martin Scavington's been in touch. Cheers, Martin, saying the level of both immigration and uncontrolled immigration is unacceptable and unsustainable. So that's obviously your 2 pennies worth there. Yvonne Bottom, cracking name, Yvonne, says Windrush separate from illegal immigrants. All we are asking for is a choice. And I think that harks back to the idea that I get a little bit wound up when people say that in anyone that wants to discuss the topic of illegal immigration or immigration as a whole, you must now be a racist. And I find that absolutely ridiculous. We need to be able to have a sensible conversation in society about levels of immigration and about maybe a targeted approach to immigration, because if you don't, then all you end up with is the two extremes on both sides of the argument shouting at each other and no common sense anywhere in the middle. So yes, I would like to see us be able to have a good conversation in society about what we actually would regard as a sustainable number of immigration, and also what approach to our border policy we would like to take.
Guys, if you enjoy what we do here, give us a retweet, give us a like. It really does help us. And of course, you can go to westmonster.com/support. So many of you have supported us. Please do go. Please do support pro-Brexit media. Please do support Westmonster. And now a very interesting comment from Spike on Twitter saying, May's dead woman walking, one of the moving vans going into Downing Street.
Yeah.
Number of things have happened today. I mean, it seems to be moving quite quickly ahead of the local elections. Brexiteer MPs warning Theresa May, as ever guys, go on westmonster.com to go and read all about it. Brexiteer MPs warning May that the EU customs partnership would collapse the government. It wouldn't have their support. This is a group of about 60 Conservative MPs in the European Research Group, led by Jacob Rees-Mogg. Basically sent a 30-page dossier to Downing Street, basically saying they're not going to put up with any, when it comes to customs union, They're not going to sort of put up with anything where, oh no, we're leaving the customs union. And Patrick's talked about this before. You know, this little sort of sleight of hand. Oh yeah, we're leaving the customs union and we're going into a customs partnership.
Very Theresa May, that is.
I mean, come on. And basically, you know, Brexiteer MPs been very clear that if the government want to go down that path, if that's the choice Theresa May wants to make, they're not going to have the support of these Brexiteer MPs, and essentially, without that support, the government is going down.
Yeah, well, as it stood, you might remember a few months ago there were serious thoughts that Theresa May was going to be ousted with a vote of no confidence. We know that there were around 40 letters that went into Graham Brady calling for a vote of no confidence. That was some time ago. As long as those haven't been rescinded, then we are pretty much 8 letters away from actually seeing a vote of no confidence in Theresa May. Now, all our intelligence with regards to my ears to the ground in Westminster, etc., just say that actually over this issue you would see a significantly more than 8 letters go into Graham Brady if Theresa May backs down on some kind of customs partnership. Indeed, some of them might come from members of her current cabinet. So actually, she really is on a little bit of the brink here. And I think what's happened is she's miscalculated it. From start to finish with Theresa May's premiership, she's taken bad advice. She's taken bad advice to the general election, bad advice about Grenfell, bad advice about knife crime, and now bad advice about this. And she seems to have taken her advice and swallowed it, that actually this is the way to appease most people in Parliament by giving them some kind of customs partnership. Wind your Anna Soubry's back in. Well, there's 60 members of a very Eurosceptic group within her own party here that would be absolutely incandescent if she did this. So really, it's not good politics from Theresa May at the minute.
This is a time for leadership, guys. This is an exciting time for our democracy. We've got a US president who wants to do a big, beautiful trade deal with us. We can control our borders, we can cooperate, we can think internationally, we can do so many things with our independence, but it requires leadership. It requires someone who believes in it, is as passionate about it as I am, is fired up by it and wants to take this tremendous opportunity by the scruff of the neck and make the absolute most of it. And it just seems to me there's a malaise, there's a lack of energy, there's a lack of vigour. We hear about the Brexit sort of subcommittee meeting. We need to know that there's absolutely no compromise on any of this stuff. We can't lose our bottle. We cannot have a government now at this moment in negotiations that backs down, that blinks, and that goes for some sort of ridiculous fudge, because I believe the British people want to be inspired. They want to be led. They want a full Brexit. That means no customs union, no customs partnership, no single market. It means full control, full independence. That's the vision. That's the burning vision that needs to be sold, that needs to be pursued, and there cannot be any compromises on it.
Marcus Fu says May has no leadership or passion. 2 words you'll never be able to put together in a sentence with her name in it. And that is interesting, isn't it? Because actually that does tie in a little bit to a story we've got coming up about some of her MPs.
Wow.
Some of the MPs in her party.
I mean, this is damning, isn't it?
This is possibly as bad as it gets. One of them's called her a corpse. So there you are, have a bit of that.
I mean, it's not exactly complimentary, is it?
May's been branded a corpse by Tory MP as fears grow over EU customs betrayal. I mean, the knives are now well and truly out for Theresa May, aren't they? Because people within her own party are going in with serious concerns, as Michael mentioned earlier, that we now could sleepwalk back into some kind of customs partnership / union. And then we'll end up basically exactly the same situation that we're in at the minute. And eventually it might even pave the way for us going back into the EU, because obviously if we've got some kind of situation where we're just a rule taker with absolutely no say on decisions being made, then that's not a particularly great situation, is it? You could find yourself ending up wanting to rejoin because the current situation is absolutely terrible. So they've gone to see her and they've said, look, we're not happy about this, Theresa. And the quote is pretty damning. She's like a corpse. All the blood is drained out of her. She sits there and doesn't say anything. If they do this, people are going to start putting in more letters to Graham Brady. I mean,
blimey.
That's for an MP to brief against their own party leader and prime minister like that is pretty shocking.
I mean, that sounds sort of reminiscent of what Patrick says down the pub about me. That's the levels of it. But on a serious note, guys.
I've tried selling that to the Sun as well.
Yeah. Just some Darren is the comment I wanted to pick up. Thank you very much for your comment, Darren, on Facebook. And by the way, guys, if you are enjoying what we're doing, give us a retweet, give us a like, and let us know what you think. Darren saying May needs to stop trying to please everyone and Brexit properly. She just lacks leadership and imagination. And I think, as I said, this is a time that requires ultimate leadership of the country. You have to inspire people. You have to convince them that you have the courage of your convictions. Does Theresa May, in her heart of hearts, believe in Brexit? Is that what this all comes down to at the end of the day?
Well, you'd have to say that she probably doesn't, does she? And certainly she surrounded herself with some key advisors that obviously don't believe in Brexit either, Ollie Robbins being one of them. And so you end up in this situation where you have a bit of a half-assed attempt at leaving the European Union. Nothing could be more half-assed than leaving just in name only, which seems to be where we're going towards here. You know, so and that's actually a situation that pleases nobody. It doesn't please the Remainers particularly because we're still technically left the European Union. Definitely doesn't please the Brexiteers because, well, this isn't really Brexit, is it? So she's actually managed to alienate pretty much everyone in one foul swoop. So yeah, I'd sack your advisor, Theresa, if I was you.
Now, guys, we've got a few more stories coming up. We will be leaving you with a smile on your face as ever. Interesting developments when it comes to the House of Lords, so you want to stick around for that. But if you're enjoying what we're doing, as I say, give us a retweet, give us a like, go to westmonster.com/support, and of course, every day go to westmonster.com if you're not already.
Absolutely.
To check out all the latest stories. You'd be mad not to, wouldn't you? Absolutely cream crackers, and I know you're not. So
Talking of things that are mad.
Well, I mean, guys, this is so the European Union, of course. I mean, I give credit where it's due in life, right? And the European Union is world class. I always say it's world class at one thing, and that thing is spending money. Because if you want to find someone who can absolutely throw away those notes like, you know, a drunken sailor on a night out in a sort of Navy dock town, then you're looking at the European Union. You've got now the European Union's new budget coming up. And my God, they've already been speaking about they want to increase the overall budget. Bearing in mind there's going to be a UK cash cow shaped hole in their finances. Now they're talking about their foreign aid section of the budget going up by 30% to 123 billion euros. This is important, guys, because I do think the Ramonas get away with it sometimes because they try and paint out the European Union as some sort of like, you know, balanced and progressive and sensible organisation. And the people over there that are running the ship are absolutely, they're just mad. I mean, this is crazy. Why would you be increasing the foreign aid budget by 30%? Why would you be pushing to increase your budget when you know that the UK is about to walk out the door, one of the biggest contributors, and yet they're thirst to power. You know, they want Macedonia to join. They want Albania to join. They're funneling money to Turkey. They want to increase the budget. They want a military. They're power hungry. They're loons. They're loons.
Yeah, I find it's very difficult to explain to maybe some of the people that are dotted around the European Union. So some people in parts of Berlin or some people in parts of Paris that have witnessed massive social changes there. What about some people that are living in quite poor conditions in a lot of European countries? I mean, even in just outside Paris, for example, there are basically some ghettos. And then you think, right, we're fully fledged members of the European Union. We're being led by a bloke who's basically Mr. EU. And we haven't got the cash to sort out the fact that we've got hundreds of questionable, whether they're illegal or not, migrants dotted around the country, dotted around that. We haven't got the money for our own social services. But we now have got the money to pay Turkey 9 billion quid to try and join the EU, a country that's literally got a road called the Jihadi Highway running through it. You've got enough money to try and sign up a lot of tin pot countries from the Balkans, for example, and you've got enough money to go and spray your foreign aid cash all over the place. I'm sorry, but I find that very difficult to explain to a lot of the people that have suffered at the hands of the European Union policy.
We've just had a whole load of people join us on Facebook. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us as ever. Just to remind you, Uncensored, Westmonster Uncensored, 1 p.m. UK time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We started off, we're going to go back to it now. The thing we led on today, what do you think about the levels of migration into Britain? Because it's been slightly buried, it's not really been talked about since the Brexit referendum.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
But polling shows 63% of Brits say migration is too high. There's huge support for slashing levels of migration. Let us know what you think. Do you want to see it go down? Do you want to see it go up? What level do you think sensible? Why are you against mass migration if you are? As I say, the very interesting polling from YouGov basically showing that 57% want less, or there was actually people that said they want no unskilled migration. much more supportive of skilled workers, but top concerns in terms of mass migration are migrants claiming benefits and the pressure put on housing and public services.
Yeah, no, we did a little poll on this as well at the start of the show, I think, didn't we? So there you go.
Yeah, do vote now, guys. I mean, it's pretty conclusive.
Yeah, at the minute, I mean, it's 543-0 at the minute on that poll. Is the current level of immigration too high? You can't say we don't know our audience here at Westmonster, but there you go. So, look, guys, I mean, this is interesting. One thing I found really interesting there is that a lot of time, Brexiteers especially get a bit of stick for going, oh, you're racist, or you're this, that. Actually, what this poll clearly shows is that people aren't against immigration. They are against a lot of unskilled immigration because they wouldn't mind immigration that therefore maybe goes on to contribute towards the economy or enriches the society that we have. What people do mind, and I'd be interested to know what you think about this, do they have a right to mind about vast swathes of unskilled migration that would maybe put a lot of pressure on public services, a lot of pressure on the housing stock, for example, saturate the lower end of the unskilled labour market? I think people maybe do have a right to be a bit annoyed about that or want an element of control about that. But what do you guys think? Let's go to some comments.
K-Bear Harris on Twitter says, Heaver looking good today. I mean, I think I'm a bit of a shambles today, if I'm honest with you.
It's the first time for everything, though.
It's the first time for everything. So, you know, thank you very much for that, but I think it's entirely unwarranted. In terms of, we're going to go to a few more comments what you think about mass migration in a minute. Just want to bring up another story for those of you just joining us that we covered earlier. Large numbers of Brits want stricter migration policy from the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. It's more polling from YouGov, basically showing big support for a tougher stance. 44% of Brits saying the Tory stance on migration isn't strict enough. By the way, guys, of course, go to westmonster.com and you can go and support us there. You can see it there. Sign up to our Red Alert email and go and support us. Go and visit westmonster.com after this broadcast. 44% of Brits saying the Tory stance isn't strict enough, including a majority, 51% of working class voters saying that the Conservative stance on migration is not tough enough.
Yeah.
And also 48% of Brits overall saying they don't think a Labour government would be strict enough on migration.
Well, that's true, isn't it? And you've seen that because Labour literally don't know what their policy is. Who saw Diane Abbott's absolute car crash?
What a stinker.
Gosh, I mean, that was literally as bad as it gets for anyone, really. I mean, if you can speak, then you would have thought it would be physically possible to give a better interview than what Diane Abbott did. But Patricia Tennant has said we should be like Australia, no skill, no entry. And I think there is now an increasing clamour for some kind of Australian, loosely speaking, some kind of Australian point style system with regards to actually we have targeted areas for migration. Now, I'm intrigued to see what you guys think. That's something that I think is relatively straightforward. You know, here are areas of our economy or areas of our society where we are lacking in skills or we need some help. Why wouldn't you go through with that and do it that way? I find that very interesting.
Guys, you'll keep the comments going. I'm not going to read some of these out, but you're absolutely cracking me up, and you know who you are. But you are cracking me up with some of these comments, guys. Let us know, as I said, do you think the level of migration into Britain is too high? We're going to move on to our next story, but we're going to come back to some of your comments in a minute. Is there anything more you want to go to?
Yeah, I do. Of course I do. Ian Farrow, Heaver always looks good. So you've got a friend now. I'll give you his number later, Ian, and you can just take that up with him. All right.
As I said, I'm a today, if we're honest. But look, Donald Trump.
Hello.
Guys, you can always rely on Westmonster. We want to see that, unlike these isolationist Liberal Democrats that you see now, who basically, I pointed this out the other day, who now don't want Britain to be able to do global trade deals. They're protesting against the US president coming to visit our country. I mean, it's all very isolationist. I mean, we're very progressive and internationalist here at Westminster, guys. We want to see fantastic international relations, and so do most Brits. A very interesting poll, another poll coming out, and guys, you go and visit westmonster.com to go and read about it.
Tell us what you think, so if you're watching it from England. Do you want Donald Trump to be given the red carpet treatment? Do you want it to be a proper state visit? Or do you not want him here at all? Let us know.
But very interesting. But basically another poll, and the sweetness with this one, guys, is that it was done on behalf of The Guardian, which always tickles my pickle. I do like to see that indeed. Do you support or oppose Trump's visit to the UK in July? 33% support, 31% oppose, and 33% neither support or oppose. So it's another poll. There was actually another one the other day I saw that had about 6 or 7 point lead for people that supported the visit versus those who didn't. Basically, the bottom line is this. When you see those, and it will largely be the people that campaign against Brexit as well, you know, they don't like the public vote in Britain, they don't like the public vote in America, they're just basically protesting against democracy at this point. When you see them out with their placards, waving them and shouting and doing all that stuff, they've got nothing better to do apparently. Just remember,
got a job.
They're a noisy minority that are not reflective of British public opinion. Because I haven't seen a single poll yet that shows more Brits oppose Trump coming than want him to come. So, you know, as I say, do you support or oppose Trump's visit to the UK in July?
Yeah.
Another poll for The Guardian shows there's more support than people that oppose.
Yeah, and I just think as well that it's all very well and good being opposed to Donald Trump if that's who you are, and this you know, in the same way that a lot of people are opposed to Hillary Clinton, for example. You know, it's okay, it's all right to have those views. It's healthy for society that we have those views, but are you seriously willing to go and have the biggest protest in history, so they're calling it, but they usually do exaggerate anyway, don't they? People on the left, go and have this biggest protest in history to mug off one of the most powerful men in the world who could be about to give Britain a bumper trade deal post-Brexit. Do you not understand, realistically, that some things are more important about telling people how angry you are because a man you don't like has got into power? Such things as Britain's future trading relationship with one of its oldest and closest allies, for example. Maybe you should think a little bit before you go and write something on a placard and take the day off work.
So you see what Patrick's done there? He's applied a bit of logic and he's cut the other side to ribbons. This is when you start applying, when you remove a motive, knee-jerk, childish, juvenile, throw toys out the pram behaviour. You replace it with simple logic over what's in the best interests of the country. You know, this is a president that is talked about openly. And this is another thing that gets on my goat, actually. Barack Obama came here. Barack Obama came to London before the referendum, came to Britain, and said, if you vote Leave, you're going to be back of the queue. And this mob, they all worship that guy. Then you've got a US president that says, I want to do a big, beautiful trade deal. He was sat there in Davos with the Prime Minister saying, I want to do a massive deal, I want lots of jobs, I want increased trade. And these muppets are running around whinging, complaining about it. Why? The truth is, it's not based on any logic. What it's based on is they don't like Donald Trump as an individual, which is fine, okay. But if you actually look at the policy, if you look at the approach, if you look at making the special relationship great again, there is no ideological backbone other than just, to go and virtue signal, basically. It's completely illogical to go and do this.
I've got friends that are going and they go, I just want to say I was there. Well, right, sorry, it's not Glastonbury.
Do me a favour.
It's not Woodstock. Do you know what I mean? This is the leader of America coming to hopefully thrash out some serious policy.
And by the way, it's another thing we should point out, the South Korea, North Korea scenes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the South Koreans, and we've got a couple of comments, give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, absolutely. I mean, who would have thought that you'd have Kim Jong-un with the South Korean president talking about denuking the region? And it is because Trump came in, he said, little rocket man, he promised fire and fury, and guess what? It worked. It worked, and they will never, ever credit him. It worked.
Just contrast that to Barack Obama's Nobel Peace Prize, the centrepiece of which, goodness knows what that really was. It was for just increasing international cooperation. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Barack Obama's signature foreign policy was this Iran nuclear deal, which apparently was never a deal, was it? Because Iran, it appears, have just carried on building nuclear weapons. If you believe Benjamin Netanyahu, who did look to have, that PowerPoint was rock solid. So, it's fascinating, isn't it? Obama's won a National Peace Prize. Donald Trump might be about to denuke the Korean Peninsula, and people hate it.
We've got, a minority of people.
Yeah, so I find it ridiculous.
We've got Lee on Facebook saying he's made the States great again. Let him try and make Britain great again. Aubrey, I love this suggestion from Aubrey. Give him Obama's Peace Prize. Well, I certainly think he's got a greater claim to it, has it? I mean, I think it's it's just stunning, isn't it? And it shows you, as I say, it shows you the ridiculous approach that we see. But you can rely on Westminster. It's okay because you've got Westmonster, guys. Go and visit westmonster.com. Make sure you're liking our page. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. Make sure you're supporting us at westmonster.com/support if that's what you want to do. Give us a like. Give us a retweet. We're growing thanks to you. We're pointing out. We're talking about the stories that we know you think matter. Patrick, have we got another comment there? He's laughing, so it must have been a good one.
No. I'm sorry. I was flicking through. Just basically people saying that they're bad losers. That's people that don't like Donald Trump. So loads of people coming in basically just saying, yes, look, Trump should come and visit the UK, and that people shouldn't get too worked up about it as well. So there you go.
And we're just going to finish now, guys, because we do, as I always say, it's good when possible to leave you with a smile on your face. There's a really positive story. The House of Lords, obviously, I wrote a piece actually yesterday on Westmonster.com, go and check it out, basically about how out of control the Lords are now, right? So this is an unelected chamber, highly questionable credibility in terms of the ability of the individuals in there. You know, a lot of them are just mates of people and stuff in there, whatever. I mean, I think there's nigh on 100 Liberal Democrats in there, for Christ's sake. So, I mean, that shows you how serious the place is. But basically, they've been voting at every single juncture recently for an EU customs union. Now and for the EU's Charter of Fundamental Rights. I mean, it's as if June 23rd, 2016 never happened. I mean, they may have all just been asleep. Because it seems to me they
usually are, aren't they?
Then they seem to be completely unaware or just uncaring. Really, I don't think they really care that the public voted for Brexit. They just sort of yeah.
Well, they don't. They obviously don't.
You did that, but that's whatever. No, we'll just try and overrule you as much as we can. And I mean, it's a war they can't really win because if you're someone who's been appointed to an unelected chamber and you're trying to overrule the democratic vote, I mean, you're not in a very strong position. And my argument would be the House of Lords needs to be put out to pasture. It's about as credible as the European Union. It's got a complete bunker mentality. It's increasingly loony. I now call it the House of Bonkers because that's what it is. It's detached from society. It's detached from any sense of reality whatsoever. It ignores, as I say, public votes. And because you guys all charged in and signed a petition, and we've done the story today on Westmonster.com, we can get it up. Because you signed a petition, 139,000 signed a petition calling for a referendum on abolishing the chamber, we now hear that on the 18th of June there will be a debate. There will be a debate in Parliament about this. Not before time, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. House of Yawns, I like that from Paul Amet. And yeah, loads of people are, so someone just, Tamara Massey just saying fabulous. I think just fabulous that the Lords might be abolished. You've obviously got some of the Guy Fawkes in you there, I imagine. Yes, absolutely. There's another person who's been commenting a lot, just having a bit of a pop at me, accusing me of being a member of the National Front, saying that like I've put weight on and that I don't pronounce my T's properly. To that person I say, sorry mum, I'll try harder on Friday.
But look guys, thanks so much for joining us. Do give us I just love that story because it does show you, if you sign up to, look, it's not necessarily going to bring a change, but we can put pressure on. That's what we're doing at Westmonster, guys. Whether it's on crime, whether it's on Brexit, whether it's on borders, you can rely on us to keep the pressure up on the establishment day in, day out. So please support us, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, visit westmonster.com, read our stories, share them far and wide, tell your friends, tell your family, and we will see you 1 o'clock on Friday.
Take care, guys.